ladies, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Aisha. I am a certified trauma-informed coach and manifestation guide, and I am on a mission to help 1 million women become their most confident and successful selves with the use of manifestation. So today's video is seasonally appropriate. We are going to be talking about seasonal affective disorder, and before I get into this, no, I am not a clinician or therapist or psychologist. This is not therapy advice. This is simply something I've picked up in my own experience. It's in fact something that I have been diagnosed with, so I have many years of experience going through it, which makes me an authority on the subject. So seasonal affective disorder, often called seasonal depression, often happens during the holiday season, the fall or winter months. And it can just be a losing of your sense of self. It can be a loss of joy in your normal routines. It can be an extra stress or frustration or even a numbness that tends to happen around holiday times or when the weather changes. Partly this can be onset by your physiology, the fact that we need vitamin D and sunshine to thrive as human beings, and so being without sunshine, and especially if you live in a particularly cloudy or overcast area such as the PNW like I do, for those of you who don't know, that's the Pacific Northwest, it's pretty common. It is a very, it's like a very common experience, and it's, like I said, only partially triggered by our physiology, but the other part of it is oftentimes holidays can be very traumatic. I know growing up, because of my home and family dynamic, holidays were not always the best time. Sometimes it was because of financial struggles and, you know, feeling like I felt guilty or couldn't ask for the presents that I wanted, or it was because of family trauma and crazy family disputes, and sometimes it was unfairness, watching other relatives get more presents than I did. And, you know, as an adult, it sounds kind of petty. It sounds kind of like, oh, that's, you shouldn't be so dramatic. That's not even a big deal. And obviously, if that happened to me as an adult, I wouldn't take it personally. But as a child, and especially before you turn 7, your brain is self-centered, and you're designed that way because you don't have this separate sense of self. Your sense of self is coming from the people around you, primarily coming from your caretakers, which is oftentimes your parents. And so if you have step parents or foster parents, or you're raised by your grandparents or other family, that throws even more nervous systems into the mix, even more politics into the mix, more opinions, and more different treatment, and that can be really confusing as a child. Oftentimes, if you're experiencing seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder, it is actually because the trauma is stored in your body, and so when that season changes, it wakes up those memories. It's sort of, you know how there's like water and mud at the bottom of the water, and if you take a stick and you shake up the mud, the water gets cloudy, and all of a sudden you see how impure that water was all along. But prior to that, you could see through the water down to the mud. And it's sort of like that. The season changing, the holiday stress, the way that people start acting different, the different conversations you may have around this time of year can bring up those old memories of holiday trauma, of seasonal trauma. And also just because oftentimes a lot of people aren't going out as much, they're not socializing as much, so the winter months, fall and winter, autumn and winter months, can be a very slower and more secluded time, and maybe that is why you feel triggered during this time. Whatever you feel is the truth for you, it is less important for you to focus on what causes your seasonal depression or causes seasonal affective disorder for you in particular. And before I get too far into this video, I do want to also mention there is a such thing as summer seasonal affective disorder, or spring. It's not exclusive to winter or autumn, but it tends to have a higher correlation with winter and autumn, I believe, because of the physiological effect of the sun not being out as much. And ironically, the sun is like right there behind me today, but yeah, it tends to have both a physiological and a psychological onset. So that's why it's usually more prominent in the fall and winter months. However, it is not exclusive to those months. So if you've experienced seasonal affective disorder during spring or summer, it is very much still valid. It's still very real. It's still a very authentic experience. I don't want you to feel weird if this isn't the time of year that you get seasonal affective disorder, okay? But nonetheless, I'm going to be talking about how I got over my seasonal affective disorder. And part of that was actually getting outdoors more during those cloudy months, rainy months, cold months. It is knowing that even if I don't have the ability to go out because the weather is bad, or I just don't feel up to being in the weather, or I don't want to risk getting sick because the weather is severe, then I know and have practiced to reach out to family and friends through the internet, through text messages, through phone calls, through video chats. And that is one way that you can overcome your seasonal affective disorder, is to reach out to your support system. And I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege because I have people that I can always go to, for support. And they're always going to be there for me, no matter what stage of life I'm in and no matter what difficulty I'm facing. And I can be vulnerable with those people and talk to those people on a deep level. And I recognize not all of you have that. However, now is a better time than ever before to create that if you don't have that yet, to deepen a relationship that you already have, or to seek out new relationships with people that you can deepen over time. Even if this means joining a Facebook group or some type of online virtual meetup event where other people with seasonal affective disorder are participating, so that you are amongst kin, amongst people who understand what you're going through. This can also look like increasing your therapy sessions, or reaching out for extended coaching or coaching for the first time if you have not gotten coaching. And I'm not saying this just because I myself sell courses and coaching offers. I'm saying this because I've done this before. I actually find that this time of year I'm more likely to reach out for help, because it's been about 3 years now since I really started to overcome my seasonal affective disorder. And again, one of the biggest ways I did that, on my 25th birthday, I got diagnosed with ADHD. So that was my birthday present to myself. And I continued therapy for several months after that with a therapist who, bless her, she was so amazing. I wish she could still be my therapist, but she's not licensed in my state. She's licensed in a state I used to live in. But because she understood me, because I could talk so comfortably and freely about seasonal affective disorder, and when my anxiety and depression got triggered, and I could be vulnerable about my childhood trauma, and she could help give me that support and validation that I needed to understand that it's not my fault that I feel this way. It's not my fault that I feel triggered. And it's not your fault that you feel triggered this time of year, or you feel triggered during certain seasons, or certain holidays are very triggering for you or traumatic for you. It's not about blame, and it's not about stressing over the fact that you're ruining the fun or you're killing the vibe because you can't get over the pain that you're going through. And it's not that you can't get over it. You absolutely can. You just need to have the right mindset and structures in place to support you through that. So again, number one is reaching out for community, reaching out for support. If you have the means and you have the resources, again, I think it's much more beneficial to invest in therapy or coaching compared to just being in a support group. And the number one reason why is because we all understand how manifestation works. If all you're doing is talking about your problems, guess what? You're going to manifest more problems. And I don't mean that there isn't a space and a place and a time for talking about your problems, but you need to position yourself in a community that wants to help you get out of your problems. And some therapists do this and some therapists don't. Some coaches do this and some coaches don't. Some friends and family do this and some friends and family don't. So you want to make sure you are conscious and aware of that fact, and spend more time with the people who can be like, hey, I really understand you're going through this. How can I help you get out of it? How can I cheer you up right now? How can I be supportive? How can I change your thought process and break you out of that negative cycle? Or how can I be a resource for you to work through some of the stuff that's coming up beyond being a listening ear? Because talk therapy doesn't work. It's a start. It's absolutely a start. But if you stay in talk therapy forever, you're going to stay talking about the same problems forever. And if you don't have a trained therapist or a therapist who specifically understands how to shift the conversation to something more productive and actually give you tangible solutions and homework to bring you out of that, you're not going to get any better. So again, number 1, community, support, and outreach. Number 2 is changing up your environment and your habits. And I know obviously like it is actually a really nice autumn this year. Last autumn was not so friendly. It was not as sunny. It was not as moderate in temperature. It was really intense, and then we had an ice storm in the winter. So last year, this advice maybe wouldn't have applied for me. However, this year it has, and actually I did still go outside throughout the fall and winter months last year. But I can see myself doing that even more this year because the weather is nicer. So if you have accessible weather, if it is safe for you to go outside during these months, even if all you do, like this park is, close enough to my home that I can visit it on a regular basis. If you have access to parks and nature, take advantage of that because you are literally a being of nature. We have only in the last couple hundred years shifted away, so far away from nature that we're secluded from it when we're in our own homes. And unless you're a crazy plant lady, I am becoming one once again, and you have like a house full of plants, or if your home has a backyard space or a patio space that is in touch with nature, or unless you have some accessible nature in your home, you're really only going to get it if you go outside. And it is so important and so valuable to be around nature. Like I love coming to this park because of the trees. I really love like the smell of the fresh air. I like to see the views. It's very pleasant experience for me. And I find if I'm really stressful, sometimes I will bring my journal here. Today I'm obviously filming content. But sometimes I will come here and I will bring my journal and I will sit down and I will write a journal prompt and I will take a few deep breaths and then I will walk home, and I'm gone for maybe like 15-20 minutes. It didn't take a whole lot of effort. And I understand if you are experiencing seasonal affective disorder, there is an extra weight on you. There is a psychological weight on your shoulders that makes these tasks harder to do. But I guarantee, and this goes for everything, sleep, exercise, meditation, affirmations, therapy, hanging out with friends, being in nature, drinking water, eating healthy. Did I already say that? Eating healthy? It goes for everything. The moment you find yourself most resistant is the time you need it the most. When you are most resistant to going to bed early, I guarantee that that's the time that your body is like craving you to go to bed early. If you are most resistant to going outside and being in nature, that is the time that your body is like literally telling you, yelling at you, hey, I need some nature. I need to refresh. So you want to make sure that you're identifying where you are facing resistance and make a conscious decision to say, okay, I really don't feel like it, but I know, and but is the magic word here, but I know it will make me feel better. I know once I'm there, I will feel better. I know by the time I am leaving after going, I will be glad that I went. Even if you don't feel glad in the moment, within the next hour or couple hours, you'll be glad that you went. And I speak on this from experience. So this is not just me telling you some blanket advice that I think or hope is going to work. This is something like I know that I've been very stubborn about my mental health before, and choosing to, like, I don't want to say force or push myself, but choosing to motivate myself to do something good for my body, good for my mental health, especially when I don't want to, has always paid off for me. So number 2 is going outside. And you don't have to do this with a friend or socialize in any way if you're not up for that, but just being with nature, even if that's just you and nature, is a really good thing. And again, even if the weather's pretty harsh, you can spend 10 minutes outside. 10 minutes a day is gonna profoundly impact your seasonal affective disorder. And I know this from experience. And then the second part of this is your habits. So part of your habits is, if you have a habit of like going to work and then you just go shut yourself inside, you want to spend an extra 10 minutes either in the morning or in the evening or even on your lunchtime outside. That changes your habit. The other thing is, if during your seasonal affective disorder episodes you tend to watch really sad movies and binge like play sad songs and read sad books and laugh at sad humor and all of those things, okay? And I mean like sad, like actually like sadness, sad, but also seasonal affective disorder memes and stuff. The more that you are responding to it as though it's relatable, the more you are resonating with those feelings of like sadness, despair, hopelessness, depression, the more you are programming your subconscious to be like, oh yeah, we have this, we feel this. So you want to stop doing that. And I've actually recently, sorry, there are little buggies everywhere on this table. I've actually recently stopped laughing at self-deprecating humor. My sister and I, we tend to spam each other memes because I am at the tail end of being a millennial and she is a Gen Zer, and so that's like our way of communicating. And we both have ADHD, so it's like pebbling, you know. I give her a bunch of memes to laugh at and she gives me a bunch of memes to laugh at, and that's how we socialize. One of the ways we socialize anyways, which I know a lot of you can relate to. So sometimes she'll send me things, and just this year's the first time I've ever done it, I will actually respond in a thoughtful way and tell her like, I used to laugh at stuff like this, but I'm no longer choosing to associate with this anymore because I'm no longer choosing to be that identity of myself anymore. And, you know, self-deprecating humor, your subconscious takes that seriously. So like, if you see a meme that's like, haha, I ruined my life another year or whatever, I can't even think of anything right now because I'm so detached from that content. But like, it's any type of humor that degrades yourself. Like, oh, I'm a piece of, you know, ish. Like, I'm a terrible person, or when I F up and this happens and whatever. Like, those kinds of memes, like that negative, the negative story, the negative narrative that those memes are sharing. Like, when you laugh at them, when you sad laugh at them, when you cry at them, when you like them, when you share them with other people, you're perpetuating the story that that's you. You're saying, I see that and that resonates with me, so that's me. You have to be so aware and conscious of the little ways that you are allowing yourself to define yourself by your depression. And until you become aware of those habits, you can't stop them. So just take notice of that. And also the other thing is not just like our online habits and our communication habits, the things we laugh at and identify with, but also like if your hygiene tends to get really bad during your seasonal affective disorder episodes, or, you know, it's harder for you to upkeep yourself in the winter, take other activities off of your plate so that you have more energy in your reserves to keep up with your hygiene. And I talk so much about this because one of the major signs of depression is poor hygiene. And that is because when you are depressed, you're not feeling like yourself. You're not appreciating yourself. You're not grateful for yourself, which means you're not appreciating your body and you're not grateful for your body. And again, the subliminal messaging that tells your subconscious is, I'm not worth it. I'm not valuable enough to brush my teeth today. I'm not valuable enough to wash my body today. And so I would suggest, if it's available to you, switching from showers to baths, and not those long, depressive, sad, cry yourself away for hours baths, okay? But like, get yourself some of those bath bombs or some Epsom salt and some essential oils, and maybe like a nice face mask, or like a hair scrunchie and some like little eye like the little eye mask sticker things, or like a facial cream that you wear. Like, really pamper yourself. Take the time to, in the shower before you take a bath, because you should be showering before you take a bath and rinsing after. Like, get an exfoliating glove, and they have these things at the dollar store, you guys. So like, you can't really make an excuse. Like, put forth the extra money because you deserve it. You are a worthwhile person to take care of, and all of these things are going to be better for you. And so, like, you know, exfoliate your body before you get into the bath, and then get into the bath and soak, and then get like a nice sugar scrub, or you can make one with like coconut oil and sugar and, you know, vanilla extract and coffee or turmeric. Like, you can make your own stuff, and like, especially after you've just freshly shaved your legs, to use a sugar scrub, it's like, feels so good. It feels so good to pamper yourself that way. And then get out of the shower, okay, rinse yourself off, and put some like really nice lotions or oils or creams or shea butter or something like that. And what I would suggest is, like, don't even get dressed right away. Just let yourself dry off, either in your towel or a robe if you have it. And like, take it so slow. Do this on your day off, or do it in a time where you have several hours that you can not rush through this process, because the point is not to rush through your self-care just to be like, okay, I got it done or whatever. It's to actually be mindful enough to pour back into yourself, because I guarantee, like, the people with seasonal affective disorder and depression are the most loving and giving people towards others. And the reason for that is it's so much easier in those seasons of life, in that state of being, to give to other people, because you see other people as worth it, but you're not seeing yourself as worth it. And we want to switch that narrative. So before this video gets too long, I do want to just move on to the third thing. So we covered, first is community, communication, support, guidance, assistance. Then the second one is changing your habits and changing your environment. Going, you know, this could be switching up the coffee shop you go to, or, you know, just going to like a place in nature to ground yourself, to be with nature. But the third thing is to be gentle with yourself. And I know so many people, when we talk about mental health, we remind you of this, but it's because it's so important. It is so important for you to slow down and truly be gentle with yourself, baby yourself. Because what's happening when you feel seasonal affective disorder, especially when it's come from a childhood trauma and not an adulthood trauma, because some seasonal affective disorder comes from, you know, early or mid adulthood, depending on how old you are when you're watching this video, but most of the time it comes from childhood. And so what's happening is that child version of yourself, whether they are 8 years old or 9 years old or 10 or 11 or however old they are, that's the part of you that's hurting, and that's the part of you that needs attention. And no matter what age you are, like, let's say you are 27. If you're 27 years old, you are also your 26-year-old version. You are also your 25-year-old self. You are also your 24-year-old self. You are also your 15-year-old self. You are also your 10-year-old self and your 6-year-old self and your 2-year-old self, all combined. You don't lose those old parts of yourself. You grow and evolve, and you stack and you stack and you stack and you stack, year after year after year of experience, of emotion, of information, okay? So that part of you, whatever part is wounded, she is crying out for attention and love and help. And you now, as the older you, as the you that has adult money, okay, as the you that has full control over your time, because you do have full control over your time, the you that has autonomy, the you that has choice and can make those executive decisions for yourself, the you that exists today can hold space for her, can look at her. And again, this is part of the reason, if you're doing a pampering day, dry off in your towel. If you have a heater available to you, like, bring the heater, and do some mirror work. Sit in front of the mirror. You can put your clothes on if you need to, if you're just not ready for that. I personally love to be in front of the mirror in my birthday suit because it is how I came into this world. It is the most authentic and genuine part of me, and I don't feel the need to cover it up when I do this. I used to, but I don't anymore. I've evolved past that. And I look myself in the eye while I am, you know, showing my body to the mirror, and I talk to myself, and I talk to all the different versions of me. And sometimes I imagine like little me next to me, and see how vulnerable she is, and remember to pay attention to her and give her love and acknowledge her, and acknowledge that if she's feeling pain, it's not my pain, it's her pain. And being able to separate the parts, because you're not detaching or dissociating, but you're separating that part of yourself so that the adult part of you can reparent that part of you. And it's reparenting that inner child in you, and it is creating a safety that that inner child didn't get to experience, because that's where trauma comes from, is a lack of safety. So that's the third tip, is to be soft with yourself, be gentle, create a vulnerable space for you to be authentic with yourself, have an inner conversation with yourself, separate the different parts of you so that you can work with each individual part of you, hear them out, validate them, tell them, I understand the pain that you're going through. I know you, I am you, but I'm stronger than you and I'm bigger than you. And if that were to happen to me again today, because that sometimes is the fear and the reason that we have that trauma, is we believe if that happened again today, I would still be just as unsafe, I would still be just as vulnerable, and I would still get just as hurt as I did back then. But that's not true. That's a lie that your brain has told you. You're so much stronger today than you realize, and if that same exact thing were to happen to you today, you have the power to stand up for yourself. So remind her of that. Remind her that you're never going to let that happen to her again. That even though it was unjust to feel that betrayal or to feel that hurt because somebody didn't show up for you the way you needed them to, that it's not going to happen again. And that even if it did, even if somebody attempted to make you feel that way again, they don't have permission to do that. And you're not going to let them. You're going to protect her. So I know that this video was helpful. I know that it was kind of heavy for some of you to hear and sit through, but I really appreciate you if you have. This is, again, something that is very important for me to talk about on my channel. You know, I speak to women at every level. So if you're still feeling your trauma, like, that is perfectly okay, and it's perfectly normal, unfortunately, to walk away from childhood with some type of trauma. But that's why I make this content, and that's why I show up for you in the way that I do, because I know what it's like to live there. Like, I used to be where you're at right now, and this advice is what helped me through it, and making these changes is what helped me to transform into who I am today. And if only you could see, if only you could borrow my brain for a day, you would see how amazing it feels to finally overcome it. And I know that because I overcame it, and hundreds, thousands of other, millions of other people have overcome it, that you can do it too. So thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel for more, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.